Hello, and welcome to this episode of Work Liberated. And our special guest today is Deb Alcadinho.
Yeah.
And her business is Business for Social Good. So can you please tell us first about you, and then second about Business for Social Good and what that is and what it means and why you do it?
Thank you. So hello, everyone. Thanks, Maggie. Great to be here with you. So yes, I am a social entrepreneur, a social impact expert, and the founder of Business for Social Good. And I've been in the space for about the last decade, formally the last year and a half, designing and creating Business for Social Good.
Great. What is it? What does it mean?
Yeah. So high level, we're a social impact training and consulting company. We're located here in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and we serve an international audience of women entrepreneurs who really have this deep desire to balance people, planet, purpose, and profit, and essentially operate as a force for good. So our work is rooted in the Sustainable Development Goals. And for those that don't know what those are, the Sustainable Development Goals were created by the United Nations in 2015 and are really the world's to-do list. So we help our clients to really develop the social purpose for their business. And then we teach them how to envision that social impact that they want to create, to develop a cause alignment, how to engage their internal and external audiences, and then how to integrate, amplify, and measure their impact. So if we want to kind of condense that all into three things, it's essentially to help our clients find purpose, create impact, and change the world.
So is it like B Corp? Have you heard of B Corp and if not, how not and how so? So how does it relate to the B Corp and conscious capitalism?
So definitely in the conscious capitalism, conscious consumerism realm, for sure. We're not a B Corp. B Corp is a very stringent certification process that business owners would go through in order to have a label or a certification that they are operating as a social impact or a social good company. So we're kind of like the precursor to a B Corp. So for the entrepreneurs and the business owners who maybe they have an understanding of B Corp, but or they don't, but they're not there yet. They don't. There's a lot of things that a business has to have in place first before they could ever apply for B Corp certification. So we're kind of like the precursor to that.
Okay. And so let's look at like Keen Alignment, my company. So Keen Alignment works with organizations to shape, lead, nurture healthy, intentional, and high performance organizational culture. And by the virtue of the name Keen Alignment, I would say that my organization helps CEOs operate and live at work, but in life too, in alignment with their biggest vision and calling for themselves, and with what they value and what they believe in. So how could your organization help me? I'm a woman business owner. I feel like everything I'm doing is for social good. I feel like it. But that doesn't mean it is. And to be honest, we've heard from a lot of people who say, I can't afford what you guys do, but I want it. So that's a second part question. How does, there's only me and I have a very few amount of consultants, and then we scale up or scale down based on our projects. So, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask this question, but it just kind of hit me like, well, because I actually own a domain called For Social Good, which is where we give scholarships to people to participate in our women leadership programs and not pay for it.
Nice.
But it's not like a real company. It's just at For Social Good, we're giving this to people. So how could you help me be more in integrity with my business that is really about working with people who are conscious, aware, and awake that we are all having an impact every minute of every day, whether we're an employee or whether we're the employer, and doing what we say we're going to do, the way we say we're going to do it, living and working with integrity. So hopefully I'm not, asking you too many ping pong questions.
Great question, Maggie. Thank you for asking that. And I think I would say you're probably halfway there. You already have an awareness because you have your for good component. So the fact that you are offering a scholarship is amazing. When we start working with the company, the first question I ask them, and I would ask you as well, and that is, what is that thing in the world that you really want to see changed? So is that a social, environmental, humanitarian thing that you have a burning desire to want to change? That might be gender equality, that might be social justice. What is that issue when you look around your community of the world and you're like, man, somebody just needs to solve that thing and the world would be a better place? So that's kind of where we start with people.
It might be nebulous, but my answer for that would be, there's so many people and so many companies going through the motions where they sort of put their heart on the shelf. And there's even like the guy, Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. He's like, you're never going to find a job that fulfills you. And I actually think people can find a job that fulfills them.
100%.
I don't think they have to give 80 hours a week to any job. That's why I'm reading the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, because I do think that as long as you produce the results you say you're going to improve, you're going to produce, it doesn't matter how much you work, because that model is kind of long gone. I have to, trade time for money. But I think patriarchy, somebody got mad at me once because I said I'm not a women's liver. I'm a people's liver. My calling is people are liberated.
Yeah.
That includes all people, men and women.
Yeah.
And anybody that is gender ambivalent.
Yeah. And Maggie, you raised a really interesting point just a couple sentences ago, and that was this issue of finding meaningful work. And I think it comes back to purpose. When we as humans, when we as individuals know what our purpose is in life, and if you're a business owner, the purpose of your business, then that changes everything. Because when we, to your earlier point, when we lead with integrity and we know our values and we know our purpose, we know why we're here, then that really drives everything that we do moving forward. And in all of the work that we do with our clients, that's the foundation that we start with. It's not clear for everyone.
Yeah. So that's ultimately why I started Keen Alignment. I was in a business deal, and my ambition with that business deal was to make a lot of money. But it was a good idea. It was bringing consciousness into hiring, because a lot of CEOs and small business owners and even large business owners, they grow because of gut instinct, and they got where they were because of gut instinct. But then when you start hiring people, that instinct sometimes doesn't bring the right people, or depending on what you're dealing with that week or that month, you'll attract that which is your lowest vibration. And so this hiring process, conscious hiring, was supposed to transform how companies hire. But I went into it with, I want to build this up and get a lot of clients and then walk away with a couple million so that I can then help CEOs run the kind of companies they want to run. And so you can hear my intent. It was a pure intent. My approach was for the money.
Yeah.
And I wound up attracting probably the lowest level human I could. He since has been ousted by his own board for lack of integrity. But when we were building the company, he fired my business partner, who was just asking him good questions about like, how are you paying people and how are we operating this thing? And then he told me, if you question anything I do, I don't need you. I have your son. I have your intellectual property. Basically, I own you. And I eventually left. But my whole point was, when I started Keen Alignment, it was so that I could help people never be in that situation again.
Yeah.
So that CEOs, especially, what I've learned by working with so many of them, their passion starts the business. And then it grows beyond something that they can control. And then the business has this life of itself, and it sort of takes over, and they lose sight of their true purpose, even as an individual, their calling and or the ultra intent of the organization, and then the value. So is the first work that you do is helping a company identify their mission, vision, and values?
Yes. And I say that with some hesitancy because the mission and the vision, most companies that we work with would already know that. It's a lot of companies don't think about their purpose, right? And so that's where we provide the first element of clarity. I started Business for Social Good because I recognized 4 things, and they are the pressing social and environmental issues of our time cannot be solved by government and philanthropy alone. And there's this rising tide of women entrepreneurs who are really driven to make a difference in their communities. The second thing is, and this relates to a point you made a moment ago, is that businesses are really challenged with attracting and retaining top talent and building and retaining customer loyalty. And when a company has a strong sense of purpose, is a social impact driven company, they attract this top talent and they build customer loyalty. That's that whole conscious consumerism, conscious capitalism model. The third thing is that I really recognize that nonprofits are struggling with consistent funding and resources, which I believe really affect the fiber and the resiliency of the communities where we all live, work, and play. And the fourth thing is that this growing shift and desire of customers, employees, and businesses to really balance this people, planet, and profit. And so, you're asking about what we would do for Keen Alignment, what we would do for any any other companies.
So we have a ultimate intent, which is forever liberating the human spirit at work. Like, people have agency, autonomy, freedom, and empowerment at work, not just words, but really, like, the bosses are taking their hands off the wheel and letting the genius emerge. That's why we call it emergent culture.
Nice.
So how could you help me? And I'm asking not tongue in cheek. I'm really asking, how could you help me move this forward, one business owner to the next?
I would say by deepening a few things for you, right? By helping you stand out as even more of a leader in your industry than what you are, helping to differentiate your brand. There are other businesses doing what you do, as there are many other businesses. So by being a social impact company, a social good company, this would help you differentiate and stand out as a leader in your industry. We'd help you experience top and bottom line growth and contribute toward solving whatever pressing issue that we help you align with.
And how
certainly increasing your customer base. Sorry?
How do you do that? Do you look at our sales process or our website and say, hey, you should have the badge, social good here? No.
We go back to you.
Okay.
It all starts with you. And so our foundational work that we do with the founder, the business owner, is introspective work in the beginning, and really getting clear or getting to the root of why you do what you do. And I mean, you've already articulated that quite well. Not everyone can specifically. So there would be definitely, you'd be a little ahead of the curve to what some business owners, where some business owners are at.
Let me switch gears on you for a minute.
Yeah.
What had you said it's been about a year since you've been doing this?
A year and a half, yeah.
A year and a half. What had you say, this is it for me? This is what I'm doing to be liberated and do, live my calling. What was the precipitous?
It's been 4 decades in the making, to be honest. So, over the last, my first business was when I was 10. And so over 4 decades of owning businesses and working for companies and working for nonprofits, being employed in government. And I mean, I think really at the root of it all, I've always had a philanthropic heart, but at some point I realized, and I kind of embarked on my own quest to have more impact than just writing a check. I wanted to, the issue that resonates for me is the issue of ending violence against women and girls. And so when I really started to look at this issue and think, man, I really haven't moved the needle forward on this at all, even though I've done so much in the last 4 decades. And it wasn't until I realized that I could have more impact on this issue when I focused on one part of the problem rather than the whole issue. Yeah. Like you think of violence against women and girls as like the top of the umbrella, and all the ribs of the umbrella are contributing factors or areas of focus. So when I realized that this is such a big thing, such a big problem, but what part of that resonated the most for me? And so for me, it was human and sex trafficking. So that's my cause, and that's the cause for Business for Social Good, to bring awareness to and really be our social good component and moving that issue forward through advocacy.
Sorry, do you give a percentage of your revenue to the sex trafficking or human trafficking?
Yep. So
your nonprofit that you work with, I've donated to OAR. I don't know if you've heard of that.
What's it called?
OAR.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Underground. Well, that would be you.
No.
They focus, I think, out of Thailand.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now you're located in the States, aren't you, Maggie?
Yes, I'm in California.
Yeah. Right.
But I keep running into people from British Columbia. I'm in an autonomy course, which is, I would say they do for social good. They're about bringing love into business. And nice. There's a woman in there, and she makes these love medals, and she's on your island.
Oh my gosh, that's
great
funny.
Connection, and probably would love to get involved in. Are you involved in the Seroptimist too?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. Back to my other question.
Back to your other question. Yeah.
What's your charity?
Yeah. So the organization that we work with is a Canadian organization called the Joy Smith Foundation. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the Joy Smith Foundation in a sec. So you asked me about how we contribute. So when we work with our clients, the training that we do with our clients is more than just writing a check. So it's based around 4 things. So you're creating clarity around the issue that lights you up. And then you're creating an alignment. So our alignment is with the Joy Smith Foundation. And then we're looking at ways to help that organization more than just writing a check, because anybody can do that. Right. So it's advocacy, it's awareness, it's financial contributions, it's time, it's talent, it's resources. But it starts with having a conversation with that nonprofit to find out what they need, because we can't assume that that all they want is money. I'm sure no nonprofit would turn that down. But we're not living their world. So we need to first start with that conversation of what do they need as an organization. So as business owners, we can create massive change for the organization that we choose to partner with. So for us at Business for Social Good, we facilitate all of those things. So we're raising awareness through advocacy and awareness of their programs, their services, their full suite of products per se. So the Joy Smith Foundation deals with extraction of individuals involved in the sex trafficking field, those who want to be extracted. Not everyone does, and that's important to know. As well as obviously raising the vibration of the work that they do. Yes, we contribute financially through a percentage of our Social Good Academy training program. A percentage of each enrollment, 5%, goes towards the Joy Smith Foundation.
What is the Social Good Academy training program?
Yeah, so when our work with clients is either consulting or training. And so I developed the Social Good Academy early on in the development of Business for Social Good. And it's a 16-week, incredibly immersive, in-depth training program for business owners. So it walks them through those 6 elements that I described early on in our conversation, which is really envisioning the impact that they want to have in the world, engaging their internal and external audiences, their employees and their customers, developing a contribution plan, creating the alignment with the nonprofit or charity, and then really amplifying, integrating, and measuring their impact.
How many hours a day is that class?
It's 16 weeks for a 90-minute class once a week, live online. And then there's a couple of hours of homework each week as well.
And what does that cost?
$19.97.
$1,997.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more how important this is. And not just like we donate X amount of money, like you said, but really having people get involved. So our 2 that we want to partner with and are partnering in some ways, but not at the level you're talking about, is Sir Optimist.
Yes.
And I still have yet to get to the one in San Jose, and then the Climate Ride. But I grew up in, my background is flowers today. Normally I have a green screen, but I just spent 12 days in the jungle doing plant medicine. So I've got the plants and the marigolds to surround me.
Wow.
But what I would say I've done a lot of work on kind of getting over my childhood. I mean, I had a great mom and I actually had a great dad too, but he suffered a drug addiction, and that meant violence and abuse for my mother, not for me that I remember. But anyway, part of my journey in the jungle, some things came up about my childhood that I had suppressed and forgotten about. And kids, honestly, I don't think should ever have to be raised. Imagine birth to 6 years old. This is where all of our beliefs get programmed subconsciously, and we don't even know we're programming them. So I'd love to find a place that helped kids be empowered as kids, as 10, 9, 8-year-old girls before they hit the teens, to understand and look at who they are and what they want their life to be about. Because I just don't think that's available. And I'm doing the forever liberating the human spirit. We're getting them when they're 30 and 40 and 50 and 60, and they've got a lot of baggage or clogged arteries or clogged emotions. And I'd love to have a social component to my business to get them when they were younger, boys and girls, not just girls. I mean, when I hear about my brother and his experiences of being raised in that house, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So if you know anybody who does that, I don't want to start my own nonprofit.
No, and I really advocate for our clients to not do that. There is enough nonprofits and charities out there that are doing the work that we feel impassioned to solve.
Yeah.
And we've got a business to run. We don't need to start another nonprofit.
Yeah.
So that's why, connecting with and aligning with one that holds the same space in our heart as what we want to solve is so important, right?
Yeah.
And I share your story. I experienced more than my fair share of sexual violence as a young woman. So this issue of ending violence against women and girls is extremely important to me, which I think is why I was drawn to Sir Optimist a number of years ago. I served as a volunteer and was deeply involved in our local club for a long time. I've taken a bit of a pause for the last couple of years while I build out Business for Social Good. But I'm never far away. I'm always kind of in the wings working to support them. So I would encourage you to get involved with the one in your local area for sure.
Yeah.
Maggie, can I share a story about one of our clients?
Please.
Awesome. So one of our clients actually owns two businesses. And the reason I wanted to share a client story is because I think it might help for our viewers and listeners afterward to kind of put this into a bit of a container, some of the things that we've been talking about. So one of our clients owns two businesses, one here on Vancouver Island. It's a digital marketing agency. And the other is a liveaboard diving expedition tourism company in the Solomon Islands, which is an archipelago of islands off of Australia. Important to know that she's also a master scuba diver herself, and she's a fiercely independent woman. So in our training course, our Social Good Academy, she learned that not only is the Sustainable Development Goal number 14, life below water, not only is that one important to her, but also number 5, gender equality is as well. And that was not really on her radar. So for her digital marketing company, over this training program, what I'm going to share with you is the end result, right?
Okay.
So with her digital marketing company, she's working with a local Vancouver Island nonprofit who provide education and scuba diving training to youth. So that's what the organization does. So when she wanted to work with the company on a local level, she said, well, here's what I do. I am a digital marketing firm. I can help you with your advocacy, with your awareness. I can help you amplify your training and your resources, and I can help with funding to bring about change and awareness on the importance of ocean conservation. So they were both working toward they both had a similar love, and that was ocean conservation. And so through her business, it was a natural fit. She could help them amplify, get the word out, help them with their training materials, and so on and so on. So that was a bit of a no-brainer. But with her tourism company, I want to share more about this one because this really kind of helps illustrate her level of social impact that she was able to create. So with her tourism company, they were already doing one aspect of social impact. And it was kind of funny in the training course, she was like, oh my gosh, I never even considered this part, which I'm going to share with you, as social impact. So they are a liveaboard dive vessel. Okay. So they have all of their linens and bedding and that sort of thing. They have a lifespan. They're a hotel, right? So they had been repurposing their retired linens and bedding to a local girls' boarding school. And they've been doing that for quite some time. But they weren't talking about it. They weren't sharing the needs of the children and why their contributions were so meaningful. So what I mean by that is they weren't coming at it from the aspect of, aren't we wonderful? We're recycling, we're repurposing our linens. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say they weren't talking about it, they weren't sharing. These are the needs of the children in this boarding school. Here's what we're doing, and here's why it's important. For instance, the sheets, as one small part of it, weren't important just from a modesty perspective. They were helping to prevent malaria. So that's a good story. Like, that's a good thing to share. It brings about awareness, right?
Yeah.
She also realized that they could have greater impact if they started to think about their scuba diving training at a leadership level to the young women in the villages who are entering the workforce. So I want you to bear a couple things in mind when I share this part. So the Solomon Islands are small villages. They are incredibly traditional. Women's roles are incredibly traditional, right? Women have in the past have had a very one track as far as a woman's role in the village, right? You have children and that's kind of where it ends, right? Like a lot of countries, the chiefs of the villages are becoming more aware that this has to change. And so her company already had a good relationship with the village chiefs. So they started having conversations with them about, we could take our scuba diving training. I mean, they're providing this on a luxury basis to visitors, but we could take this training and we could work with young women who you, being the chiefs, could identify, and we could give them skills, life skills, work skills that would benefit their families, would benefit the young women. They could take those skills anywhere in the world that would increase their standard of living. And of course, I mean, as is often the case, they send money home, which would then, increase the trajectory for the family as well.
Yeah.
So the chiefs were really excited about this, are really excited about this. So that's what they've done. So they have created these employment opportunities in non-traditional fields for young women. And it gives them, as I said, this opportunity to take their education, spread it out to other young women and girls, and increases their earning potential, gives them new skills in this, sports-related field that they've never had before, and really just changes so many things. So that kind of relates to the gender equality piece that she learned was actually important to her that she never really thought about, and contributes to her other sustainable development goal, which is life below water.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's a great story. And it's having my brain is, fast forwarding to what my company could do. Yeah,
that's right.
So yeah, I think I might be in one of your upcoming classes. Or
the other thing, Maggie,
might be in one of your upcoming classes.
Who's that? Sorry?
Someone here might be in one of your like in my company.
Awesome.
But also, in people that are listening to For Social Good, is people all want meaning and purpose. And it could be, the meaning and purpose can come from the organization that your organization supports. Mm-hmm. Just like right. with this scuba diving situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
The other thing I wanted to can I just interject for a sec?
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to say that's equally as important to this whole scenario that I've just shared is when she shares this, here's who we are and here's what we're doing. When she shares this, her vendors get excited, right? Mm-hmm. Her suppliers get excited, and they're like, oh, their hand gets raised. Hello, how can we help you do this?
Yeah.
So, it becomes a machine, like a movement. A movement, right? And yeah. So, they're coming on board saying, oh, we'll help you with free training materials. Oh, we'll help you with free equipment. And so it becomes this thing that is so much larger than what the business owner initially anticipates, which is just.
So I think you're doing great work. I think it's a boots on the ground way to put your actions where your commitments are. So I love it. So in wrapping up, what's the most fulfilling part of your job? What liberates you, Deb?
the impact that others create, honestly. When I can be witness to, something like this story that I just shared, when I can be witness to this, and I have a faculty that it works with me as well in the academy. So we're all witness to this. The business owners come in and they're kind of like, well, I think maybe this, and I think maybe this, and then their mind just gets blown in the training program or in the consulting, and it just opens up. So that for me is just like, woo, the angels sing when
that's wonderful.
When I can experience that with my clients. Yeah.
And do you have any upcoming webinars? Like, how do you get people into the class? Do you do promo webinars? And if so, when is the next?
Great question. I don't actually have a scheduled webinar yet, but if I can share that with you after, maybe we can put that in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it on the. So this is going to be. It'll probably take a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, let's have what the next webinar or Facebook Live is.
Yeah. Our next academy is March the 2nd. And that's our the start of our Social Good Academy. Yeah. So our next Social Good Academy starts on March the 2nd. And and I'll send you the link for that as well. But it's basically business 4, number 4, socialgood.ca, and then just navigate to our courses tab and you'll find the Social Good Academy there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Deb. I wish you lived closer. I'd love to meet you.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter these days where anybody lives because we can all do business remote.
Correct.
Thank you to COVID-19.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. We loved hearing about your business for social good. And I think it's all part of the liberation process. When we can contribute and give back, we are liberated.
So true. So true. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you today and chat with your audience.